me a moment. Okay, all good. So this week might be slightly different in regards to solving. I'm trying to improve my sleep, which is the most important thing to do in order to improve and learn. So far we are getting some easy mating ones, which is usually the beginning of the chess puzzles on chess.com. Usually lots of mates in one. Really simple things to see and do. But it's important to see the mates, because if you don't see the mates, it's difficult to finish your own games. So my major improvement that I'm trying to do when I'm solving these puzzles is to improve my sleep. First and foremost, because I've learned that, yes, when you are on a bad sleeping streak, if I may say so, then not only you are having worse results in whatever you do, but you are literally like hurting your body overall. So next I will be streaming, but I will make sure that I have a good sleep first, and on some days I won't be able to stream because of all the noise that my kids can do and so on. This is a beautiful checkmate because it's a double check, and when you give a double check, the king has to move, but the king will have no squares to go to. And so here is, it looks like a first puzzle that might be slightly complicated. Is it true? Something random just fell in my room. Hard to say what my children were doing. So looking at the candidate moves, we have a potential X-ray on the E file with the rook on E8. But I don't see any way to win any material or anything like that, just based off this single fact. So first move that comes to mind is pawn to d3. But also one of the problems that we are facing, we are down material. We are down one piece. For me, it's very difficult to see right now the correct idea, because none of the white pieces are necessarily unprotected, and the d file is the only thing that I see as a potential problem. But if we play d3, what is the best move for white, sorry, and what can we do to actually win. So if I play d3 and they take on d3 with the pawn, then we have knight takes g3 winning the rook in a corner. The same is if they take with the queen, we have queen takes d3, e takes d3 will then be forced, knight takes g3, and we are winning the rook in a corner. Although it's not necessarily clear how we can keep the knight, but it gives us a chance to fight. If I play e3, where can the queen go? If we play e3 and the queen goes to... There's so many moves that white queen can do. Queen can go to c4 maybe. If c4 happens, then move like knight takes g3 can be played anyway. And then we are probably taking on e2 next, but it's not very clear continuation. So d3 is one of the ideas. Knight takes g3 is the second idea that I have. So knight g3, f takes g3, and then d3. That actually looks a bit stronger, because knight takes g3 is threatening rook takes e2, and when we play d3, then we have rook takes e2 next. But we have sacrificed one extra piece, so after knight g3, f takes g3, d3. If queen goes to c3, for example, and we play rook takes e2, it's not yet clear how we are winning this type of position, because king can go to f1. And I don't see an immediate win here. So maybe to play d3 first and then knight g3 next, but it's the same. It's the same predicament. So unfortunately, I don't see any other moves that look better. So knight takes g3, f takes g3, d3, rook e2, and then I don't see a follow-up. Maybe it would be rook to e8. Or something like a queen g4 actually after rook to e2. I don't know which is good move, so we are likely going to fail this. I'll try to play this move first, and it's a fail. Okay, never mind. One of the early fails. Couldn't really see the idea there. So a4 looks like the really the most logical move here. a4, if you play b4, we take on b4 and we are going, so there's no... We just have to keep going, and we are queening first. Rook b2 looks like an obvious move. It's a shame starting with the loss so early. So I think the move d3 was the correct one there, but we need to focus now on this. And rook b2 looks like the move. Rook a8 check, and maybe we can go king h7, and there's no more checks. I feel this is the move. Queen c8, there's no queen c3 or anything like that, so king g7 is the only move. Take, there's probably no perpetuals left. So here we need to take the rook on d8 first, so then we can win the rook in a corner. And hopefully this is winning. Queen to e5 check. Queen f6, queen e6. Yeah, we are winning the rook on c8. This has to be played because rook g7 is a checkmate, and now we're winning the rook. Simple mate in 2. We open the lines for our rook. I wonder what we failed in that previous puzzle. So same amount of pieces, and actually white is checking us, so I thought it will be simple queen takes a3, but because white is checking us with its rook takes b5, because now when the queen, if the queen took on d6, then we have simply protected with knight d6, but now we are under attack. The rook is attacked twice, so we just need to defend it once with c6. Queen e1 check looks like the move. Queen d1 only responds, bishop h6, and eventually a checkmate after taking all the pieces on a dark squares. Rook c4, c5 checkmate. Queen c5 could be checkmate there too. Six v6. 6v6. How could bishop takes f1 not be a first move? Bishop f1, bishop g7, bishop d3. White has extra piece, but we need to keep taking, and now it's equal with regards to pieces, but we are up 2 pawns. Simple mate in 2. Queen g1 would be a checkmate there. Now d7 looks like a first move, but king d8 is a defense. So, okay, rook takes b6, a takes b6, king c7, c3, d7, king f7, queen d8, c2, and then we are probably just drawing the game. I don't see actually us winning this game, but it looks like the best moves anyway that we have available. That's why we do what we have to do. But I felt like c3 was better move there, and potential way to draw. Question is what we do here. Knight takes d4 looks like the first more obvious move. We have same amount of pieces. So knight takes d4, queen takes d4, rook d1, queen to b4, if or queen to h4, g3. Knight to d4, queen takes d4, rook d1, c3, queen b4 check. And unfortunately, once we play rook d1, black doesn't have a check that would be allowing him to protect their position. And we have very strong checkmate on d8. So I think it's just takes, rook d1, c3. And we had the strong checkmate on the rook d8 with rook d8 due to Deuteronomy. What the heck? Okay. So knight takes c3 looks like a move. If knight takes c6, then we have queen takes d1, rook d1, knight takes d1. And if knight takes c3, or maybe queen takes d1 and then knight takes c3. It looks actually more accurate, because if we play knight c3, then maybe queen takes d8 and knight takes c6 is better for white. So queen takes d1 is the move. Knight takes c3. We are attacking the rook, so that's why we have time to now win the knight. Why is white playing in this manner? Wouldn't it be easier if the bishop was already available to us, even though it's not the best bishop out there, but come on now. So this looks like knight to e5 want to be played, or knight to g5, threatening a checkmate. So if knight to e5, knight h6 is defending, but queen takes h6, we can win that knight. Or actually we have knight to g6, and it's still not a checkmate though. But we are potentially winning the queen anyway. So I think the move is knight to e5, because then we have, against, for example, queen e7, we have knight g6 check, against queen f6. Against queen f6 we've got nothing. Or is knight g6 still working? Oh, knight g6 is still working, because king e8 and then queen takes g8. So I'm convinced it's knight to e5 that's the move. Knight to g6 must be the move. And we at least win a queen, if nothing else. Queen g8 looks like the very first move of the sequence. But it is not, because we have mate in one with queen d8. Queen takes f3, queen takes f3, rook e1, and it's a checkmate. Queen e1, if we play, then rook f1 is a defense, so queen f3 is the move. So taking the rook would be a big mistake because of queen to h8 and then rook d8, and it's probably closer to a draw. So is actually rook takes e4 possible? It actually looks like it's possible, because rook takes e4, queen h8, and then rook e8. If white was to play... Oh no, he's got that move as well. Okay, it's not so simple. Rook e4, queen h8, rook e8, rook d8. We unfortunately don't have king a7 for queen d4 check. But then we can play c5, queen c5 check, and b6. And now black has to both protect the rook, so maybe they can play queen to d4. And then we can take the rook on d8, and if they take queen d8, then we have queen f4 check and queen h4 checkmate. So I think we can actually take the rook on f4, on e4. I'm just not sure if there's anything better than this. And also if rook e8, rook e4, queen h8, rook e8, then they have queen d4, and I don't see a follow-up from there. So maybe if you try rook e4, queen h8, king a7. Because there we have a big checkmate threat on with queen f4. Oh no, it's not actually checkmate if you have queen on h8. It's not the same way like with queen h4. So it's not that simple. We are winning the rook on d2, but if they can play rook d8 maybe. So again, I'll be honest, I don't see it. Rook takes e4, queen h8. Rook e8. And then even move like queen h6 seems to... Oh no, that then queen d4 seems to defend against that checkmate threat. Not sure. This looks like the shortest puzzle streak ever. As I don't really see a mate and I don't really see a win. Rook e4, queen h8, king a7. We have queen f4 threat, but if they play rook d8, where is the checkmate? I don't see it. Maybe we can do something that will... But what? What can you do? Queen f4 will be a checkmate, so... Keeping the rook somehow. Not sure. So once again, rook e4, queen h8, rook e8. White can play even rook d8, so... Rook e4, queen h8, king a7. Now queen f4 is a checkmate threat. No, it's not a mate. But then rook d8, and then what? Queen f4, queen g4. King is now on h2. I still don't see it. Rook a8 is not a mate. Well, I'm going to take rook on e4 because I don't see anything better than this. Rook e8. Rook e8, queen d4. I don't see any continuation there. So we can try king a7. But queen f4 is not a checkmate, so... but we might have a rook h4, which is also no checkmate for queen e5. Man. Oh, but I think I found the way. There's queen f4 check, king h3, queen f5 check, and then if king g3, then rook g4, rook h4, and winning the queen. So we go to king a7 here, and we win the queen. I feel we were a bit lucky here because I couldn't see the whole thing, the whole shebang. This one is very simple. We are going to trade the rook, and once we trade the rook, we are going to try and control the squares in front of our pawn, which should win the game. So control the squares with the right opposition in front of your pawn. So this needs to be very precise. Feels like e6. If king goes there, we can go e takes f7. If king goes to e7, then we have g6 and pass protected pawn, which could potentially win. Oh, and after e6, he doesn't actually have even king d6, so we then play just f6. And that's all she need to write in this one. Knight d7 will potentially stop the pawn. But it won't stop the pawn, because if knight d7, we have knight b6 check, knight takes b6 and promoting. So that was there. What's going on here? There's no obvious winning of anything. Rook takes and rook d1. Rook takes e8, queen takes e8, rook d1, and that's all she wrote. Because it's unstoppable to play. The rook d8 was just unstoppable there. For v4, we will simply lure the rook on there, check and win. Up a piece, winning the game. That's the usual. So here I believe the winning motive is to have 4 pieces against the queen. It's not gonna be easy to win, but in order to win the bishop on g5, we need to hit the queen, but from the correct square, which is c3. Now we're winning the bishop. And queen g2 looks very tempting. So does d4. If d4, e4, d takes c3, it looks like d4 threatening the mate on g2. The only defense is e4 or g3 maybe, and then g3. Then we can take on c3, and white cannot recapture, has to move, and then we can d4, g3, d takes c3. The white will have to move somewhere on c2 or b1, and we have then bishop e4, c takes b2, something like this. Taking on c3. Oh, did I not see this? Oh, I did see that. How to win this position? Our pawn is being attacked. And we desperately want to promote. How can you do either of these things? Rook g6 threatening h7. If king f7, then we have h7 and queen should be winning. So protect the pawn on h6 because the rook against the pawn should be easy. And now go for the queen. Knight d4 looks like number 1 candidate move, and knight takes d5 looks like number 2 candidate moves. And it's going to be knight takes d5, because then we are hitting bishop on g5 twice. If e takes d5, we then have knight d4 hitting the queen. If bishop e7, knight f3 is with a check. So knight d5 is a typical tactic, but e d5 is complicating things, because if we take on g5, they take on c6. So we have to attack the queen and now get what's ours, as I like to say. In this position, we should be winning, and I believe I have seen this position before. Rook h1, king e2. Not convincing, is it? Then rook to c2, check. If king e3, I don't see it. Something tells me I've seen similar position before. But how about rook to c2? Attacking the bishop on f2, and if the bishop moves, then we should be able to somehow win. Important to note that the bishop on d5 is protecting the a8 square, so rook to c2 looks like the first move. I have yesterday one similar position where I had rook h2, g2 and bishop on h3. King was on first rank and there was no defense of the checkmates. So doing these puzzles oftentimes helps to do better. So in this position, it looks like it's some sort of joke, this type of position, because we just captured the queen for free. I don't see why we would be doing anything else. (49) and the 49, and the simple goal was to find a capture. Really? Okay. Same amount of pieces. We need to take on e5 first, because if we allow black to take on f3 with a check, then it's just a trade. But now we are threatening to capture the knight on e5. So before we can do so, we need to tickle the queen, because that queen was pinning our king on the diagonal. Now we take what's ours. Okay. We know where the pawns are going, but we definitely need to win the rook first before we have any chance. And now comes the complicated thing, and that's to stop the pawn from promoting the f5 pawn. Winning the rook was the easy bit. King e4, f6, king f5, f7, king e4, f6, king f5, f7, rook e6 check, king d7. It's not gonna be easy. Rook f8, king e6, king g5, king g4, e4 and king g5. So I think rook f8 is the move. That was not an easy puzzle, and this one? This puzzle. Knight to f3 check, king g2, and then queen to h6. If queen h8, king d7. No. Knight f3, king, queen f3, queen h6. That's no good, is it? Queen to h6 first, queen h8, king d7. And then their queen is being hit. So I think queen h6 is the first move, because after king d7 their queen is being attacked, and we have knight f3, queen h2 threat, which is only stoppable by queen f6. If rook d1, then obviously we are up a important piece. This looks like a very familiar tactic that I played something similar winning the rook also today. It's basically when you attacking with one rook, the other rook, and then you give the check with the king to the king where the square is protected by the rook. And you're at the same time attacking the other rook that was attacked by the rook. So when they take your knight, you win the rook, and when they move away, you win the rook anyway. So this is the same thing. They have to take the knight. If they don't take the knight, if they take the knight, they lose both the rooks, because queen d8 check, rook e8, queen e8, or king g7, queen e7. So they would lose both the rooks. But now, because I can take back with the knight, I can take back with the knight again. We are up a piece. I know I'm maybe confusing things a little bit, but that's all right. Rook takes f1, queen d1. Queen d4 check. Rook f2. Okay. Not sure what happens here. Rook takes f1, maybe? Maybe? Because queen d4, bishop e3 looks like defense. But then actually, queen d4, bishop e3, queen e3, rook f2, rook a1. We already are up material. And if queen d4, rook f2, okay, so needs to go in a bit more calculation mode. Because queen d4, rook f2 looks dangerous to us. They would be mating us. So it has to be rook takes f1, king takes f1. Okay, and the next move is queen to f3 check. Because if rook f2, queen h1 is a checkmate. If king g1, then rook e1 will be a mate. So it's this and then that. And there. A bit more complicated, but we could do it. Did I not have the exact same puzzle yesterday? I think we had the very same puzzle. We solved it yesterday. And somehow I managed to do it in the midnight. So this was rook g2, queen h4. I remember solving this because now if you take on e1, they would have queen c8 checkmate. So you need to give that check. So that's a clearly one puzzle that I could remember that we've been solving the other day. So how is this not going to be bishop takes e5? Queen b5, bishop f6, g takes f6. This has to be bishop e5, bishop f6. And then maybe rook to d5 as well. And here, instead of some queen g4 or anything like that, the rook d5 first. To cut out the queen from the defense and look like the only moves. Right. Here we are down some material. Bishop b8, queen b8, b7, queen g3, we get checkmated. We don't want to get checkmated. That's only one thing that I know for sure. Rook c7. Bishop takes, pawn takes c7, queen to b4. Pawn to c8 check by the queen. So it looks like rook c7. It's more of an intuition than anything else, but sometimes you have to follow your guts. Okay, and this one is rook takes c1. Okay, this one is not rook c1. I thought rook takes c1, but then last moment I saw that they can play rook f1. So what was the move? Queen e1 and then rook c1? Oh my gosh, I want to see where I went wrong there. The positive thing is that we are about to fail and we have only one chance left. On a positive note, white has no useful checks. On a negative note, I am not able to see how can we get check quickly on b1. It's a bit sad that I made two blunders already so early. It looks like bishop g3 will be the first move, but then I don't see a follow-up to that. So after bishop g3, king h1, which has to be played. If queen f5, then rook d1. One of the things that may... No, bishop g3, if I play that... If I can swap the king with the queen, that would be very simple. Maybe. Yeah, it would be very simple. Bishop g3. King h1. King h6, rook h7, king g5. Rook d7, that's just the only repetition of the same. Also, black might have some moves like queen d8 too. For which there's no... There's no visible defense. I don't know what to do, what to actually do. King f5 is not possible. So I feel like the first move should be maybe e4 or bishop g3 and then e4. But if I play e4, then have rook d5. I have king h6, queen d5. I still have queen h6. If I play e4, do they have any defense? It actually looks like they do, so I'll play bishop g3 first and then e4, which looks like the only move. And now that queen d8 actually happened. And rook d5 would mean that we are going to lose the queen. So again, the only forcing move is to take. And I think now we are winning because we are threatening to promote the pawn on e2. What? Okay, so this is it for today. I have missed something there. And I've missed something here, so d3 is the move. But I want to have a look what's happening in this position. Let's play queen c4. d2. Knight c3. Let's play b5. Okay. So this was the whole point here, that you just take on e2 and then black has a has like impossible time to defend. If I king e2, knight g3 is a checkmate. Okay. That was a humbling experience. I should have felt that the e2 pawn isn't strong enough. That's something we learn from in the future. Second puzzle we missed. I thought rook c1, but what? So if it's not rook c1 or queen e1, oh my goodness. So then it's like the simplest move in the world. I did not consider it at all. So bad. So here I saw this, 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 and that. And why not a4? No a4 because bishop f2 is needed to play. Not to allow the king to go into the game. So that's what I've missed here. Okay, I guess that's enough for streaming right now, but later on I'll be playing some games, so I'll come back again for streaming more. I just need to do some exercises, and yeah, maybe I'll see if I can stream on the actual computer. Alright, you guys take care for now, and I'll see you maybe in a couple of hours. Maybe an hour, hour and a half, something like that. So take care for now. Hopefully next time we are going to get further than we did here, only 58.